So, Dujuan, how are you? It's good to have
Hey,
you here with us tonight.
thank you for having me on here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Good. Sir, the first thing I wanted to do is I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your relationship to the Paducah community.
Yes, ma'am. So I was born and raised here in Paducah. I was raised by my grandmother, and I was raised in the church as well. I've been here mostly all of my life, and my heart has always been for my city and my community. Growing up, I've always said, no matter what I'm doing, I'm going to give back to my community, my family, and my church. And now that God has put me on this path that I'm on right now, I feel like this is where He's leading me to be able to give back to my community in the immense way that I've always wanted to.
Okay, so I want you to tell me you're running for mayor. First, let's address this issue. Your name is not on the ballot. You're a write-in candidate. So, since your people are unable to write your name in on this ballot, how will they be able to support you?
Yes, ma'am. So they will be able to go to the ballots in November and vote for me. The primary basically just kicks off one of the other candidates, especially with the city commission and the mayor election. But in November is when people can write in my name for the election.
Okay, very good. So, without mentioning any of the other candidates' assets or liabilities, I want you to tell us what makes you uniquely qualified to be the mayor of our city.
Well, I believe that, especially with my background and my history, my work history at such a young age, that should be a red flag right there that I have potential to be a great leader of this city. Especially being young, I'm able to see where the world is heading. I can see what, our city needs to grow and develop and become the best city it can be. Because I think that the same people have been running our country for the past 40, 50, 60 years, and they have kind of outdated mindsets because they're wanting to do things that they needed when they were in their 20s and 30s. So I think that I'm able to advance our city in the right direction for the future because I see where the future is heading, as well as with my work history. Like I said, some people have said I've lived 100 lives in my short life right now. With serving in the military, I enlisted at the age of 17 while I was still in high school, and I served honorably for 5 years in there. And then also with my work history, I've managed over $2.5 million in sales at the age of 20 with Body Armor Sports Drink with my time with them. And I was doing the work of a regional manager at the age of 20, turning 21, or I might have been 19, turning 20. It was one of those. But also when I was working with Contemporary Services Corporation, I was managing over 500,000 guests and staff at the many major events that they held in the city of Louisville. So I had people that were double and even triple my age that were under my leadership, and as well as my own business, Louisville Exclusive LLC, which I started about 2 years ago, which I've dealt with international contracts, national contracts, with contracts with Hawaii Fashion Weeks and other business related to fashion. And I even held a fashion show here in Paducah, partnered up with Parpet Shriek. He's a Paducah resident. And we did that to give back to the community. We raised donations for the Boys and Girls Club of Paducah and gave kids from the Boys and Girls Club that are into fashion an opportunity to do something that you never see here in Paducah. So it's really about, I think that I want to bring so much to our city that we've been lacking for many years because I believe Paducah is more than a river and a quilt city. The quilt is a big thing of our city and the river is a great part of our city, but we have so much more potential, and especially on the south side. Like once I get that developed, our city is going to grow, and I think that's what I have over my opponents. And last thing, I am not just a talker. I think actions speak louder than words. So the things that I say I'm going to bring. I'm going to make sure they come because actions speak louder than words.
Okay, well, listen, with that in mind, what do you see is the number one area or the number one issue that is currently needs the most attention here in the city? And how do you plan to address that?
So yeah, definitely. I am one for listening to the people and asking what they want. And the main things that people have told me is they want better roads and a better sewer system because our sewer system has been here since the 50s, from what I've been told. And it's outdated as some of the parts of the city are being flooded, and that shouldn't be happening here in 2020. So I want to make sure that I get those things done first, and as well as the budget. Our city last year we spent more money than we made, and we have to pull out of basically our reserve fund to make up the difference. So I'm going to make sure that our city doesn't go into debt with frivolous spending on things that we don't need. But I want to make sure that the budget is balanced and we're able to get these main things that the people want, which is roads and sewers. And I plan on doing that in my first year in office because that's what the people want and that's what they're going to get.
So how will you do that as one person with the city commissioners? What if they're not on board?
Well, that's one thing too that I've always spoke about. I need people to vote for a city commission that's going to be for the people as well. So hopefully the people that are elected to city commission are on board about caring about the people of Paducah and not caring about filling their pockets or having a title. So I hope they're on board with wanting to advance Paducah with the things that the people want, because the people are the ones that put us in office. So we need to listen to what they need and what they want.
Well, let me ask you this question. It's a lot of times when people run for office, they make promises that go unfulfilled once they actually get in office.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know, what is the one thing, just the one thing for which you expect to be fully held accountable for? And how will the public determine your credibility in that issue?
Definitely. Like I said, actions speak louder than words. So I could say I'm going to keep doing this stuff and it could never happen. But I'm going to stand by making sure that in my first year, the roads that need fixed, especially on the south side of town and the rundown parts of town, I'm going to make sure they're fixed or they're on their way of getting fixed by the time of my first year in office, as well as the sewers, because I'm going to have to make sure that the budget is aligned with it. So as long as the city commission is, on board with it, I'm going to stick by that and make sure that happens. And I'm going to try my best to make sure that our budget is fixed by my first year in office.
Okay. Dujuan, our nation is divided along political lines. So how does that division directly impact the city and its future?
Definitely. So one thing that I've really spoke about here recently is how our nation is in a two-party system where people only see like red or blue, which I disagree with, because that takes people away from the real issues or it takes them away from knowing who their candidates really are, because they're stuck on looking at a color. And I'm glad that Paducah is nonpartisan, but many people have even commented asking, am I Republican or Democrat? But I tell them, this is a nonpartisan race. My heart is for the people. It's not for a color. So I think that Paducah being nonpartisan is beneficial, but in our nation in whole, there's still people that are stuck in that red and blue mindset, which take the focus off who the person is, because there can be a red candidate that's against the people. There can be a blue candidate that's against the people. So we need to stop looking at the colors and really look at who our candidates are, because we're going to keep getting divided on red and blue, and our nation's never going to progress because we're stuck with that old mindset of red and blue party system, which I can say that George Washington even stated that we need to stay away from a two-party system because it's bad for our countries, and we're kind of seeing that now.
Okay, so how will you work to ensure that all citizens of every race, gender, age, socioeconomic status, how will you work to ensure that everybody is represented? Because you say you're for the people, but who are the people?
Definitely. And one thing I can say is that I believe all people are created equally, in God's image. And I'm a Christian and I was raised a Christian, but I respect every race, every religion, every sexual orientation. I respect them and I love them as Christ loves me, So I have to make sure that when I'm in a leader position, I'm going to make sure that when I'm in that leadership position, that I'm going to take care of all that live here. I'm going to bring opportunity for all who live here. And I'm going to be a voice for all who live here, because that's my role as a leader. My job isn't to say, well, you don't have the same mindset or beliefs as me, so I'm not going to take care of you. No, it's not like that. So as a leader, I'm going to make sure to be a voice for everybody here, because that's what they're voting me in this position to be.
You are very enthusiastic and have a lot of energy.
Yes, ma'am.
And how are you going to combat the criticism of your age, that you are too young without enough experience on this level to manage a city of Paducah size?
Definitely. And that goes back to my work experience. I believe I not only qualify because of my age, I think I overqualify because of my age. I've done things that people that may be double or triple my age cannot claim to have done. I've served in the military. I've managed millions of dollars of a budget of a corporation. I've managed almost 500,000 people in my lifetime, and I've owned my own business all before the age of 21. I just turned 22. So I've done many things that people double, triple, quadruple my age maybe can't even claim. So I think that should show people that I have dexterity, I have determination, I have a passion for success and for growth. So I think that when they look at my age, they shouldn't look down on it. They should really look into who I am and be like, wow, you're this young and you're doing all this. And another thing, if I wasn't qualified to do it, the government wouldn't allow me to run for office if I was too young. Because I think that, again, that goes back to my previous statement about how our country has been run by the same people for the past 40, 50, 60 years. We need young people in office. That's what I'm hoping to do, is to inspire young people that their voice matters, and they can be doing exactly what I'm doing. I'm nobody special. God has put me in this place, but anybody can do this if they have the faith and they have the determination to do it and have a heart for change. And I think that's what a lot of people have seen in me, is that my heart is in the right place. There may be naysayers and things out there like that, but the people that speak less and listen more and watch, they see that I'm real about what I'm saying, because I have a passion for it. And God calls the young because they're strong. So that's why I hope that when I'm in office, I will be able to, I hope people do vote me into office so I can accomplish things that need to be done.
So is this a stepping stone? Do you have aspirations of a higher political office? Or a subsequent question would be, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I honestly never thought I'd be in this position, but like I said, I let God lead me on whatever path He has set for me. But now that I'm in it, people have said, "Oh, you may be going governor next. You may be going president one day," and I can honestly see myself going there, because I want to be the change that we need in America. Because I'm tired of seeing politicians as being so cookie cutter. We need change in our politics, because we shouldn't think of a politician only being a white man with a comb over, or a corrupt politician that doesn't care about the people. So I hope that, over time, if I am called to do higher, offices, that, I am able to inspire others, because I don't just want it to be me. I want to inspire others to do it as well. But I'm not sure. 5 to 10 years from now, I hope to still be in office for the next 8 years as mayor. But after that, I could see myself going for the governor, So we don't know until we get there, I guess.
Okay, very good. So let's talk a little bit about the pandemic, because it has had an economic impact on everywhere. I mean, and we're not finished yet. People are getting tired of staying in place at home, and they're rebelling against the governor. So I would like to hear your perceptions on how this pandemic has impacted the city of Paducah and its citizens.
Definitely. And the main thing has been economic. I'm grateful that Paducah hasn't seen such major death that we're seeing all across the world. But local businesses, family-owned businesses, because Paducah's built on family-owned businesses and local business, they've been hit the most, and families as well that have been laid off from work, and the workers, like my cousin, she does hair, but her shop was closed down the whole time, so that was her only source of revenue. So I think financially that was the biggest impact. And doing my part, whenever I am in office, I have dedicated my first year's salary back to Paducah for COVID-19 relief funds, which will cover us, the people that did possibly lose their job, or were back on payments with their business or their home. So I believe it's mostly been financial, and I hope and COVID's still here, and it has the potential to come back even worse. So I hope that we do get better prepared for it whenever that day may come. And I hope it just stays financial, because you can recoup money, but you can't regain lives. So that's what I think about it.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the issue that seems to be dividing the citizens of Paducah, and that would be the Aquatic Center. What is your position on that?
Yeah, whenever I first saw it, I was confused on what it was. But then after looking into it, and studying it and researching it, I found out that this was something that's been in the works for the past 20 plus years, possibly. They sent out a survey many years ago, and the community wanted an aquatic center at that time. But fast forward to today, the people have spoken. They don't want it. And it's a waste. Honestly, I think it's a waste of money. $22 million. That could have been used to develop the South Side. There's dilapidated buildings over there that the people only want $100,000 for, which is minuscule compared to a $22 million deficit that our city would have went into for an aquatic center. And I just didn't agree with it, and the mayor said it's for the health and wellness of citizens here. But what about the health and wellness of people that are starving, that are on the streets, that don't have a place to sleep? We need to get our priorities straight. And I don't think that an aquatic center is a priority. I think that's a leisure. So.
So what would be your first area of attack, your number one priority, should you be elected mayor?
Again, that goes to fixing the budget, fixing our streets, and fixing our sewer. And then following that, I do want to, focus on building revenue and building tourism while developing the South Side. So, like I said about the dilapidated buildings, if I had those finances right now and I was in that leadership position, I would have been buying those dilapidated buildings on the South Side, like the I think it's a retirement center, that old big building that everybody sees. That's a huge eyesore. I would turn it into a living situation for like homeless veterans or homeless families or people in poverty. That's what that area could be used for. So I think that should be top priority over another swimming pool, which we have a great swimming pool. We have the Noble Park pool, and we have the PAC, which isn't in Paducah, but it's a part of McCracken County, and it's called the Paducah Activity Center. And as well, we have churches here. Somebody commented one time, and I don't know that it was one of the Missionary Baptist, one of the big churches. They even have a pool that allows people to come swim at it. So I don't think that it's really needed. And tearing down the fields that they wanted to tear down that people do use, I didn't agree with that, because at the end of the day, if the people don't want something, as a leader, you should listen to them. They put you in that position. So don't, shun them or, turn your back on them. That's what I think about it.
You've mentioned the South Side several times. What other parts of the city need some sprucing up, for lack of a better term?
Definitely, and I call it the South Side, and it's really the east side of town because it's going east of Paducah. But I think that even on the north side, some of the areas over there, the roads are cracked and there's potholes and things like this, and they haven't been updated in a while. So I think it's really just the areas that the people want fixed. So what I want to do whenever I'm in office, and even beforehand, is start letting people say what areas need to be fixed, and I want to get on top of it and get those areas fixed, because I think it's mainly is the South Side that's been ignored. Like the most recent advancement I've seen over there is they added a Dairy Queen, and I think a Dollar Tree is being built there. But other than that, there hasn't been any advancement. So I think that's why I kind of focus on the South Side, because I want to make our city equal. We shouldn't have a rich side and a poor side. We need to have an equal city, and we need to prosper together instead of having that line of division in our city.
So in terms of the roads, would that not be a Department of Transportation issue, not necessarily the mayor of the city?
No, well, in Paducah, that would be a part of the mayor, because that is a part of the city, and as mayor, that is it's kind of hard to say, but that just is a part of the mayor's job, is making sure the roads. Because even in Princeton, their mayor, who was a 24-year-old, his first thing that he made sure was done was fixing the roads in his city. So I'm not sure of all the logistics behind it, but I know as mayor, I will be able to get that done. And I'm sure I do have to work with the transportation board and all these different folks, but I'm gonna make sure that that's done, because the people want it done, and that's what they're voting me into this position for.
Okay. Well, we have time for at least one more question. Although Paducah has not experienced the magnitude of injustice that has taken place in Minneapolis, Detroit, Ferguson, recently Atlanta, there are still racial issues here, racial problems. So what I'd like to know is, what is your plan to identify those problems and help rectify those problems so that we do not become a Ferguson or a Nashville or Atlanta?
Definitely. One thing I can say is I'm grateful for the Paducah police, because they are steps ahead of other cities that we're seeing across the country right now. And I've met with the chief, I've met with the sheriff, and I even was talking with one of the training officers one day, and really learned about what they're doing to stay steps ahead, which they do have diversity training, which is a Kentucky thing, where the police officers in Kentucky go to, where they have diversity training. And they have those kind of trainings to help them with that. But I urge them, and I urged them at the unity meeting that we had recently, to get out into the community, because my brother's 8, and at one point he was scared of police, and that shouldn't be happening in a child. So I think that they need to get out in the community more, and they have done a great job of coming out to the community and being in the schools. But I think we just need to stay steps ahead so we can ensure that our community is familiar with the officers here, because the officers, from my understanding, are from the community. So if they're not getting out in the community and meeting the people, then they're just a stranger with a badge and a gun. So I want to end that stereotype that you're just a stranger with a badge and gun, and I want people to say, "Oh, that's Officer so and so. That's Officer so and so. Oh, hey, Officer so and so." And I don't want people to have to run inside the house when they see a cop coming by. So yeah, I think that if we focus on more diversity training, getting out in community, I think that'll be a great steps of keeping Paducah great and keeping our Paducah Police Department great.
But is it just the police, or is there some systemic racism that is built in?
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's a major issue, especially with our court system and the people that are incarcerated. You know, I'm not sure of all the statistics here in Paducah, but I know what's happening all around the world, and that's something that really needs to be light shined on that, and things need to stop getting swept under the rug. So I think that, you know, even as a mayor, I'm not sure how much I can do to affect that, but I know I want to help, you know, convicts and addicts, you know, because I don't believe putting people in timeout really all the time, you know, for minor offenses. I don't think that really helps them in the long run. So what I want to bring is like financial literacy. I want to bring classes and reforms for convicts, you know, for minor crimes here in the city, so they can become better citizens, because just putting them in timeout isn't doing anything. They're just going to get out and do the same thing. So we need to help them help themselves become better citizens so we can grow and prosper in unity.
Teach a man how to fish, right?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Well, listen, what I'd like for you to do, we just have time to have this last comment. I want you to just look into the camera and tell people why they should vote for you as mayor of Paducah, Kentucky.
Definitely. I believe that you should vote for me because I'm going to be a voice for the people. I'm going to bring you what you want and need, and I'm going to make sure that we get the things that we need to develop and become the best city that we could ever be in unity. And I want us to prosper. I want us to grow, and I want to put Paducah on the map again.
Thank you very much. That's Dujuan Thomas, ladies and gentlemen. He is running as a write-in candidate for mayor of Paducah. You won't see his name on this ballot for the 23rd. However, you're able to write his name in November. Thank you very much, Dujuan.